night, budget messaging derailed from inside and out.
Serious questions remain unanswered.
The opposition forces a parliamentary all-nighter while the Liberals navigate a rocky caucus meeting. We'll look at a big budget promise obscured by the noise.
He really loved New Zealand. Yeah. He really considered it home.
As families and friends mourn lost loved ones in Christchurch, plans take shape for the country to pay tribute.
And trying to save the majestic Siberian tiger, Chris Brown gets right up close, tracking the tail all the way to Vladivostok. This is The National. Now that the government has tabled its budget, it wants to go and sell it to Canadians, but today, that was easier said than done. First came a caucus distraction, including a departure, then more heat from the opposition on the SNC-Lavalin file. It is just after 10 o'clock Pacific time. We are now into our 10th hour of a marathon voting session. Yep, we're looking live at the House of Commons. This was forced by the opposition to vote on over 200 motions, one vote at a time. Each one a potential vote of confidence. But the day began with questions for a colleague who had been a key cabinet minister. Katie Simpson has new details.
Jane Philpott hurried away from Parliament after what appears to have been a difficult day.
Under another circumstance, I'd be happy to talk.
The former cabinet minister did not get a warm welcome from some of her colleagues after her very public resignation. Multiple sources speaking to CBC News say when Ontario Liberal MPs held their weekly meeting this morning, Philpott was a main focus of discussion. She faced a barrage of difficult questions about her actions in a meeting that's been described as uncomfortable and rocky. Some MPs even reminded her they made sacrifices and compromises to help her with sensitive legislation like assisted dying laws when she was health minister.
We are a team, and we will continue to work as a team to deliver on behalf of Canadians.
Whatever private concerns exist, the Liberals are publicly insisting all is well with both Philpott and Jody Wilson-Raybould, ministers who quit Justin Trudeau's cabinet over the SNC-Lavalin affair.
They have both indicated that they continue to believe in the Liberal Party and want to stand for us in election in the fall, and I look forward to continuing to work together.
These tensions knocked the Prime Minister off message as he's been trying to sell his election year budget to voters. And the distraction only got worse when an outspoken MP announced she's quitting the party.
I understand that there's a lot of people that supported me that were disappointed in, what I did.
Selina Caesar-Chavannes resigned from caucus after she accused the Prime Minister of being hostile and angry when she told him she would not run in the upcoming election. Her departure, on top of the other two female ministers leaving cabinet, emboldened the opposition to hurl a new personal insult at the Prime Minister.
He is demeaning all women and showing what a fake feminist he is.
So, Katie, the Conservatives clearly are going to keep on the SNC-Lavalin affair, and now they're asking another House of Commons committee to look into this.
That's right, Ian. Tomorrow, the Conservatives are going to try to get the Ethics Committee to investigate. But the Liberals have a majority of seats on this committee, so it's not likely to happen. And remember, on Monday, the Liberals used their majority on the Justice Committee to shut down an investigation there. Even if this push doesn't go very far, though, the opposition may very well just be happy to have this story drag on for another day. Ian.
Okay, Katie, thank you.
Now, opposition tactics on SNC-Lavalin aside, the finance minister did eventually present his plan. Budget 2019 has $23 billion in new spending, including a new national strategy for really expensive drugs. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But first, let's look at a big boost for Canada's cities. Cameron McIntosh now on a multi-billion-dollar windfall meant to get infrastructure projects off the ground.
Like most Canadian cities, the wish list in Winnipeg is long, expensive, and largely just trying to fix what's already broken. So getting an unexpected $40 million, the mayor gets a little excited.
When I heard the number, I think there may have been some some language I won't use here, like, you've got to be kidding me.
Budget 2019 doubles municipal transfers from the federal gasoline tax fund, a one-time election year top-up of $2.2 billion. It also comes with a direct dig from the federal finance minister.
We've not been able to get as many projects done in some places like Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, New Brunswick.
Read provinces with conservative governments. That got fingers pointing and spin churning, including this from Ontario's finance minister.
Well, certainly the federal minister can continue to play political games.
Not surprisingly, Toronto's mayor sees it differently.
This represents an important recognition of the role that cities play in addressing the big national issues that residents expect us to address.
I think the politics of this that really appeals to us is the federal government saying we believe in a direct relationship and partnership with local government.
Now, provinces may still have a role here. That $2.2 billion could actually become even more under programs for matching provincial and federal funds.
I think this will help the municipalities actually leverage some of that money to get into the bigger pie of infrastructure.
Bowman, who's at odds with Manitoba's government over road repairs, says Winnipeg's share will fill a $40 million shortfall.
I want to hit the ground running as quickly as possible.
Of course, for the Liberal government, the idea here is to get building and get people working well before the next federal election. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
So big cities are some of the big winners in the federal budget, money that could affect millions of Canadians across the country. But there's another line item in the budget that's almost the opposite in a way. It has the potential to help a very select group of people, but in an absolutely life-changing way. The government says that within several years, it'll spend as much as $500 million a year on drugs that treat rare diseases. More than 7,000 of these have been identified, each affecting a relatively small number of Canadians. But as Christine Burak shows us, the price of needed medications can be astronomical.
Aww.
Children are expected to get stronger as they grow.
She was such a good swimmer. Look how well she could sit, too, back then.
But at 20 months old, the Van Frassens were told their daughter Rebecca had spinal muscular atrophy, or SMA. The rare genetic condition would cause her muscles to weaken with age. Bit by bit, Rebecca lost the ability to swim, stand up, and even walk.
It's almost like we're at war and we're being bombed and we don't know when the next bomb's going to drop.
At 19, Rebecca's an artist, but she's losing arm strength. Eventually, SMA may damage the muscles she needs to swallow and breathe. Then 2 years ago, a drug was approved showing some benefits. The price tag, over $700,000 per patient in the first year, and over $350,000 every year afterward for life. It's covered for most patients under age 12, but not many others, including Rebecca.
The amount they're asking for these drugs is just astronomical, and you know, we're just caught in the middle of this situation.
Nearly half of the new drugs released in 2016 and 17 were drugs aimed at treating rare diseases. Many more are coming, with price tags approaching $1 million per year per patient.
This is just the tip of the iceberg, I believe.
Physicians say it's a real struggle.
You want to instill the families with hope that there is a treatment that's coming, that there's something that could help their children.
With the help of certain patient groups, more and more families are mounting appeals and protests, hoping to pressure governments into paying for drugs the system can't easily afford.
The pressure is also coming in directly from the pharmaceutical companies who are pressuring governments to cover these drugs at really quite expensive prices, and then also, in many cases, funding patient groups behind the scenes who are then exerting that same pressure on government.
The drug company says SMA patients and their families, advocacy groups like Cure SMA, are not advocates for Biogen, but for their human right to have access to the drug.
So they're going to try and make as much profit as they can. But part of that is that the drug costs very little to manufacture. So there is room to negotiate.
What could simplify those negotiations is a national drug agency, one bulk buyer of drugs for the country to lower prices. The budget indicates the government is moving in that direction, but health policy experts say it's baby steps, and some families have no time left to wait. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's turn now to the latest twist in the Brexit story. With just 9 days to go until Britain is supposed to leave the European Union, Prime Minister Theresa May asked the EU today for a 3-month extension. Then she made her case in a direct appeal to her own country this evening.
This delay is a matter of great personal regret for me, but I am not prepared to delay Brexit any further than the 30th of June.
You see, the EU would prefer that Britain either leave by May 23rd before European parliamentary elections or stay until at least the end of the year, which would force Britain to take part in those elections.
Prime Minister May's proposal of the 30th of June, which has its merits, creates a series of questions of a legal and political nature.
Theresa May is set to speak with EU leaders about the extension tomorrow in Brussels. But as you can see, it's been a messy breakup. So how are Europeans feeling about it all? Well, the CBC's Thomas Daigle reports from a place with a unique perspective.
Brexit sure is a political maze, a series of twists and turns with a way out somehow. But as you go deeper, the exit only appears further.
This is the spot where 3 countries meet: the Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium. There are no borders, and that's common across Europe, a reflection of EU integration and a reminder of how many Europeans find it hard to understand why Britain would want to leave.
Nearby in Aachen, Germany, history weighs heavy. The Second World War destroyed much of this city, so people here value European unity over division.
It's a quite stupid process from the people of the UK to decide to do the Brexit. I think it's really a pity for Europe.
Britain belongs to Europe from my point of view, and the economy is a very important thing.
And there's no sugarcoating the impact on European business. Welcome to Lambert's, making sweet treats since 1688. Just on this one line, they're churning out 15 tons of cookies a day, exporting around the world, including to Britain, at least for now.
Country and such a big one.
Herman Bullbecker's family has owned Lambert's for centuries. Their cookies are so famous, they're given as gifts, symbols of Germany.
We might have big problems with customs, duties. The products might be more expensive. Why is Great Britain doing such a kind of suicide?
A question now posed across Europe, with many nations that considered following Britain out the door now rethinking their plans.
In those countries where populist parties have talked about this, it has become very unpopular since the Brexit process has become such a disaster.
Yes, it's not all bad here. Ironically, Brexit has somehow bolstered European unity. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Aachen, Germany.
And Thomas and our crew will be in Brussels tomorrow to cover that big EU meeting on the Brexit extension request.
Let's turn now to Mozambique, where 3 days of national mourning have begun for more than 200 people killed by Cyclone Idai, a number that's expected to rise as the scale of the disaster is revealed. New aerial images today show thousands of people still stranded by rising floodwaters, and aid groups are struggling to get help to hundreds of thousands of people left homeless. Kayla Hounsel has the latest.
This might look like the sea, but it's 24 kilometers from the coast. People are camping on roofs, several hundred taking shelter in the stands of a stadium. This view from above provides a clearer picture of Cyclone Idai's destruction below.
This situation is very, very serious. It's a trouble. I can say that we are in trouble. This is a dangerous situation because the people are dying because of this flood.
And aid organizations are now racing to save them. Helicopters often the only way to get to them.
This helicopter is equipped with a winch, which is crucial for the rescue operation that is currently underway with the South African Air Force. And we are hoping to boost the rescue capability with this helicopter.
The World Food Programme stepped up its food distribution today, but it is still not fast enough.
Help! We're suffering here. Help Mozambique.
Mozambique has declared its first ever national state of emergency. And as people struggle to find food, water, and shelter, there is a growing concern the floods have brought waterborne illnesses such as cholera. And not just in Mozambique. Neighboring Malawi and Zimbabwe have been hit too.
More than the infrastructure we are concerned about right now is to get to help the communities, to help individuals.
Zimbabwe's military is leading operations to rebuild roads so aid can get into the disaster zone, and there is no relief in sight. The coming days are expected to bring more heavy rains. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, London.
Let's bring in CBC meteorologist Johanna Wagstaff. And Joe, what made this particular storm so bad?
Well, Ian, there were several factors at play here, starting with the track itself. It was born just off the coast of Mozambique, meaning torrential downpours had already saturated the ground before it moved back out into the channel, gained strength, and then made landfall as a Category 2 storm a week later in a very low-lying part of the country, which meant a storm surge of over 6 meters pushed that wall of water inland. And then the storm stalled out on the Mozambique-Zimbabwe border with all of that extra rain running back into what is now an inland ocean. Probably the biggest factor, though, 500,000 people live in poverty, so structures that just couldn't handle this kind of wind or this kind of rain, Ian.
And beyond this immediate emergency, aid workers who are there are sounding the alarm about climate change. Tell us about that.
Well, we've seen more and more research connecting the impacts of cyclones, higher storm surge, stalled out storms that mean more rainfall and more moisture in all of these storms. But this part of the world has definitely seen an increase. Not only are they dealing with increased flooding, but also increased droughts, which is affecting their crops. And this is a pattern we are seeing all around the world. Extreme weather events becoming more common in the most vulnerable places.
Thanks, Johanna.
You're welcome.
We're live on the Pacific edition of The National with the latest on a developing story involving Boeing. Multiple news sources in the U.S. reporting on various aspects of a criminal investigation into Boeing and how the aircraft manufacturer dealt with the certification of the 737 MAX 8, the model of a jet which crashed in Ethiopia 10 days ago, killing 157 people. And reports from Indonesia, where another MAX 8 crashed. Pilots of the Lion Air flight were scouring the plane's handbook in the minutes before the crash. Sources who have listened to the cockpit voice recorder say the pilot handed control to the co-pilot and began searching through the operating manual for clues as to what was happening. Police in Italy stopped what could have been a mass tragedy, and a man who threatened school children in a bus has been arrested. The bus was carrying 51 students who was apparently hijacked, then set on fire near Milan. Incredibly, no one seriously injured. The suspect from Senegal reportedly shouted, "Stop the deaths in the Mediterranean." That seemed to be a protest against the treatment of migrants in the region.
And next on The National, a special tribute to the victims of the mass shooting in Christchurch.
Plus, Disney gobbles up 20th Century Fox, what it means for your streaming services.
And what would you do if you heard this?
Heard screaming. I heard somebody screaming, "Help, help," and a baby crying.
Strangers come together to save a woman and her child in our moment. Six days ago in Christchurch, New Zealand, a man driven by hate attacked dozens of people where they should have been safest, their mosque. Today, the first of what will be 50 funerals. It's been a hard wait for these Muslim families whose faith requires the dead to be buried as soon as possible, but they haven't been able to do that. So there are gaping holes where there were once fathers, mothers, wives, husbands, children. Some born in New Zealand and some coming from countries that had already been torn apart by hate and violence. All 50 now remembered by their families, their country, and citizens of the world. But New Zealand's Prime Minister is also looking forward. It's Thursday there now, and Jacinda Ardern has just announced sweeping new gun control measures.
In short, every semi-automatic weapon used in the terrorist attack on Friday will be banned in this country.
That ban takes effect immediately. But the government is also planning a buyback, paying gun owners for their weapons. There's even an exemption for those who own their guns illegally. Ardern says her cabinet will meet to debate further measures next week. But in the meantime, another revelation, this one from New Zealand police, about just how much worse the attack could have been.
We strongly believe we stopped them on the way to a further attack. So lives were saved by our staff.
Now, police are not identifying that third location, but they have made a statement of sorts about those who reposted the video of the attacker's live stream. 3 people have been charged so far. And over the next few days across New Zealand, there will be prayers and memorials. It will take time for the country to heal. And as Briar Stewart shows us, at the center of it all, the many families still waiting to bury their loved ones.
During the haka ritual, the Maori believe the whole body should speak and convey a message, and this is one of loss, but also of strength and resolve. Even members of rival biker gangs turned up to take part alongside hundreds of others in a tribute to the victims.
It was as if it happened to them, like as if their loved ones had died, and you know, we're all just one big family, and it really came out today.
Maha Almadani's father, 66-year-old Ali, was killed in the shootings at Al Noor along with several family friends. The family is from Jordan originally, and they moved to New Zealand 22 years ago.
He really loved New Zealand. He really considered it home, and yeah.
My husband decided to come here because it's a safe place for the girls and for my son.
The family is still waiting for police to release Almadani's body. Some funeral services have already been held, and more are expected soon. The hope is that both mosques that were attacked can be reopened in time for Friday prayers. The Prime Minister has also called for 2 minutes of silence across New Zealand. Jacinda Ardern says all countries need to be concerned about the rise of racist nationalism.
Yes, this was an Australian citizen, but that is not to say that we do not have ideology in New Zealand that would be an affront to the majority of New Zealanders. We still have a responsibility to weed it out where it exists.
Now there's an effort to protect those left shaken and feeling vulnerable. As a group prays, a line of people stand behind them, symbolically watching their backs. It's a country looking inward, searching for a way forward in the midst of so much grief. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Christchurch.
Now, as Briar mentioned, officials at both targeted mosques are hoping to reopen for Friday prayers. But between the two, the Al Noor Mosque was much more heavily damaged and riddled with bullet holes. So local businesses are stepping up to help with repairs, donating materials and labor to get it fixed up and ready in time.
Still ahead on The National, as the man who caused the Humboldt Broncos crash awaits his sentence Friday, we hear from others who are responsible for car crashes about what it's like living with causing death.
But first, inside the effort to save Siberian tigers. Their population is on the decline, and these experts want to turn that around. Chris Brown gets unprecedented access in this week's Dispatch. That's next.
They possess a wild beauty that's majestic, even hypnotic. They are deadly, but also endangered. That's just part of what makes Siberian tigers so fascinating. You're about to see them in ways you probably never have before. Russians have a deep reverence for these magnificent creatures. Our Moscow correspondent, Chris Brown, had a chance to see close up the country's efforts to let them thrive once more. He filed this dispatch from Vladivostok.
He is one of nature's greatest and most beautiful predators. The Siberian tiger is the largest of the tiger species, whose thick fur allows it to survive in the world's coldest climates. He doesn't even notice our camera as he senses vulnerable prey is near. His killer instincts take over as he stalks and then pounces. In the blink of an eye, the violent attack is over. We're actually watching this go down from a safe spot at a safari park. And this is arguably Russia's most famous tiger. His name is Amur.
Тигр Амур в полном расцвете сил. Ему в апреле исполнится 7 лет. То есть тигр красавец.
Dmitry Mezentev is the director here.
Он символ и Приморья, и Дальнего Востока, и, наверное, уже России.
And Timur, the goat.
You might remember Amur from this video. A few years back, he became a global celebrity by befriending a goat named Timur that was supposed to be his dinner. Amur may have been born in captivity, but his prominence transcends his confined space. He's emerged as a symbol of hope for an entire species at risk.
It's incredible how well Siberian tigers blend in with their surroundings. They're notoriously difficult to spot in the wild, which is why you have to come to some place like this to see them. This whole area around Vladivostok and the far east of Russia is Siberian tiger territory. They were once some of the most endangered animals on Earth.
From just a few dozen animals in the mid-20th century, there were 490 Siberian tigers as of 2018. That's still not a lot, so when people see a tiger, it's a big deal. Leaping across a highway, or here, trying to blend in like a tree. When Russian conservationists called us to say we had a chance to film a tiger in the wild and to meet Amur, we hopped on a plane and headed to the city of Vladivostok. It's obvious once you get here just how revered tigers are. There are statues and monuments everywhere. Our destination was a one-of-a-kind tiger rehabilitation center, and the tiger we came to see was Tikhon, a 13-year-old male. Over Christmas, he got into trouble with some villagers by eating their pets. After he was tranquilized, scientists realized Tikhon had a problem with his teeth. So they cleaned and repaired his damaged fangs. Tiger biologist Sergei Aramilev said Tikhon seemed to be ready to be released back into the wild.
Мы сделали зубы, кормили его хорошим мясом, и когда это все прошло, просто неожиданно, очень неожиданно, и
just as we arrived, Tikhon died. So instead of witnessing his freedom, the Russian authorities gave us unprecedented access to observe their scientific teams as they performed his autopsy. Every time a tiger dies, there has to be an investigation to determine the cause of death, to know if something illegal, such as poaching, was responsible. They look for gunshot wounds, stab marks, or signs of poisoning, and later they'll look at his organs to understand if perhaps his diet or food sources were the problem. It all helps authorities understand the stresses the tiger population faces. They cleaned his fur and measured him from tail to toe before hoisting him up to see his weight when he died.
So they just weighed Tikhon, and they know he was about 140 or so kilograms at his death, and that's pretty light. They think he should have been upward around 200 or so kilograms for a 13-year-old male tiger. They're not sure why he was so, he wasn't heavy. Obviously, it had dental work. He had trouble eating before, so that could be one possibility, but there's obviously a lot more going on here, and that's what this necropsy is hopefully going to give some answers to.
It's sad to see such a great beast at the end of its life, especially knowing how fragile the population remains. But Aramilev says Tihan did his part.
Единственный, наверное, момент, то, что тигр прожил достаточно длительную жизнь, да, и он успел достаточно много сделать.
The final cause of death, we were told later, dehydration and exhaustion. Tihan basically died of natural causes. At the rehab center, hopefully, a more positive story is about to unfold. These two cubs, Elena and Pavlik, were rescued after their mother had to be relocated because she ate 6 dogs in a Russian village. But rather than sending the cubs to zoos and a life of captivity, Viktor Kuzmenko, who runs the rehab center, is training them to hunt and to fend for themselves so they can be reintroduced into the wild.
Чтобы у них не было ассоциации человек-корм. Там это очень сложный процесс, и в 2 словах ответить на ваш вопрос, вот специально не ходили, я не могу. То есть это есть определенные правила, да, которые мы придерживаемся при работе с тиграми. И основная наша задача, чтобы тигр избегал человека, чтобы он к человеку не привыкал. Надеемся, что они экзамены все сдадут.
The no humans rule is strictly enforced. We could only watch them on these monitors. And even when Vladimir Putin visited in 2014, Russia's president had to keep his distance too. The Kremlin helps fund this center, as well as many of the other tiger conservation measures. The young tigers are taught to hunt using wild animals. Usually a deer is released into the pen, and the tigers chase it down and finish it off with a bite to the neck. In the past 5 years, this center has rehabilitated and released 7 tigers. Other measures such as monitoring have helped too. Cameras such as this one capture extraordinary sights, such as 4 tiger cubs playing all day. There are more than 800 such cameras all over Russia's Far East. But for all the successes, the greatest threat faced by tigers remains people who want to kill them for their furs and body parts.
Эта вот шкура была изъята у китайского гражданина, который пытался ее переправить через границу.
Sergei Aramilev, the biologist, has a freezer full of seized illegal trophies he shows us.
Headshot, yes.
A headshot, right.
Yes. Вот это было первое попадание, попали в шею.
The market for such items, he says, is almost all in China, where tiger parts fetch a high price.
Для них важен сам статус, да, потому что если в семье в Китае есть шкура, да, то это престижно. Ну и плюс какие-то там есть религиозные вещи, ну их тоже можно понять, у них 3000 лет, да, и у них это культура, и в один день ее изменить невозможно.
A crackdown, though, by Russia's government on poaching does seem to be working. In 2010, up to 70 tigers a year were killed by poachers. Now the number is closer to 15 to 20.
Да.
That's thanks in part to conservation officers such as Andrei Zakharov and his team.
Охота закончилась у нас сейчас на данный момент. Сейчас охоты нет ни на что.
He leads one of 14 dedicated anti-poaching teams. They ride in armored personnel carriers, often camping for days at a time. We spent one day with them.
А это что-то такое вот не от мира сего. Вещь. Она может находиться в 50 метрах от нас, вот на таком вот немножечко вверх, и мы ее не видим, пока она не шевельнется. Только потом понимаешь, вот до такой степени это скрытное животное.
The other part of his job is dealing with those angry villagers who lose their pets to tigers. And there are lots of those stories on Russian TV.
Тигр схватил собаку мою маленькую с конурой прямо.
While her dog was killed, this woman was luckier.
Тигр его подцепил, ее лапой попытался вытащить.
There was lots of blood from the lucky escape. So, to stop people from shooting problem tigers, which is illegal, Zakharov and his crew try to calm things down and hand out compensation.
Человек, мы пришли в его дом. Да, есть такие случаи, что он нападает на скотину, нападает на коров, нападает на лошадей, нападает на собак, забирает собак. Но, если у человека все нормально с документами, все нормально, но государство компенсирует эти затраты.
Siberian tigers are still listed as an endangered species. But Sergei Aramilev says after decades of worry, the trajectory is finally looking up.
Но заходя в лес на Дальнем Востоке, ты ощущаешь такое ощущение сказки, да, чего-то неизведанного, потому что там живет хозяин этой тайги, тигр. Он всегда присутствует, незримо следы, энергетика. И с учетом того, что этот зверь вызывает уважение и гордость, я считаю, что он должен жить рядом с нами.
The official conservation target is to have a population of 700 wild adult Siberian tigers and cubs in 4 years' time, and authorities believe they'll get there. Chris Brown, CBC News, near Vladivostok, Russia.
There is more on this story on our Instagram page, exclusive pictures and video, as well as a short essay by Chris that takes you behind the scenes of his reporting. Check it out and follow us at CBC The National.
And the moment is just ahead. An incredible story of neighbors banding together to save a mother and child. But first, in case you missed it, the Disney entertainment juggernaut just got even bigger. It's finalized a $71 billion acquisition of Fox, which brings together some of the world's most popular properties under one giant roof. From Disney's own expansive kingdom of characters to its recently acquired galaxy far, far away, now adding a legion of blue eco-warriors, a number of Fox TV favorites, and even the mutant superheroes Disney didn't already own. But one of its most valuable new assets is not a character or a franchise, it's a streaming platform, Hulu. And the strategy is clear. As more and more people watch from home, Disney fears a future utterly dominated by the 800-pound gorilla that is Netflix. It has 140 million subscribers and counting. Netflix way out in front. So to compete with a two-pronged attack, Disney is expected to feature more adult-themed fare on Hulu, like, say, the profane and ultra-violent Deadpool, and then use Disney Plus for the happy-go-lucky family stuff. But to future subscribers with kids, word to the wise.
I'm about to do to you what Limp Bizkit did to music in the late 90s.
Make sure you're clear on which one's which.
Tell me where your boss is, or you're gonna die in 5 minutes!
We are live on the Pacific edition of The National, following the latest in a push for more kids here in BC to get the measles vaccine.
We have a significant number of people who are not immunized.
The province will launch a 3-month program that will move vaccination clinics into schools. The government says it's also on track to introduce a mandatory immunization registry in the fall. The program is launching in the wake of those 19 confirmed measles cases in BC since January.
It still makes me angry and it frustrates me, but he's not sorry, and that's something I have to live with.
The victim in a so-called sexsomnia case says that she's ready to move on with her life after the man convicted of her rape was sentenced to 12 months in jail today. Lawyers claimed he suffered from sexsomnia at the time of the assault, saying he was effectively asleep and not responsible for his actions. The judge rejected that defense, ruling any gaps in his memory were due to heavy alcohol consumption. On Friday, a Saskatchewan judge will sentence the truck driver who ran a stop sign and killed 16 people on the Humboldt Bronco team bus, causing so much anguish.
And that's all that went through my head. This is it. This is the valley of death. This is the valley of darkness. And all I saw was darkness. All I saw was hurt and anguish and fear and confusion.
In the wake of all that grief and suffering, a challenge for the court. What constitutes the proper punishment for this man's crimes? Jaskirat Singh Sidhu faces 29 charges of dangerous driving of a motor vehicle, 13 of those for causing injury. The families he tore apart will be forever haunted by his thoughtless act. But some might argue so will he. The CBC's Bonnie Allen talked to 3 Canadians who carry guilt for the lives ended by their driving.
The crash itself, I remember nothing, basically. I remember leaving the party, and then I remember waking up in the hospital.
I remember to about 10:30 at night. At the time in my life, I drank excessively that night. I blacked out.
It's a day that I live with each and every day in my life, and I know there's another family that lives with it in a much larger capacity than I do.
3 fatal collisions roughly 2 decades ago. The circumstances and punishments were different, but all 3 drivers say it's been a life sentence of guilt and remorse.
I drove drunk, I drove fast. I mean, I was distracted. I was a new driver. I was doing it was nighttime. I mean, every possible wrong choice I could have made that night, I made.
In June 2000, Kevin Brooks killed his childhood friend Brendan Buick in a crash that also left him paralyzed.
At first, I wasn't even going to get a lawyer. I was like, I don't want a lawyer. I'll plead guilty. I did it. That's done.
Brooks pleaded guilty to dangerous driving. The judge sentenced him to community service with no time behind bars.
And he just said, I see a young man who killed his friend. You'll live with that forever. And he's just like, what worse sentence can I impose upon you than a life sentence that you've given yourself?
In May 1998, Ted Gross drunkenly sped through a red light and slammed into Melissa Hoving's car, killing her. Gross pleaded guilty to criminal negligence causing death. He received a 3.5-year prison sentence and served 9 months of it behind bars.
Jail taught me responsibility, but more importantly, it made me sort of make amends for some of the sins I had committed.
But the real sentence?
I'm going to have to live with that. I wake up every day thinking about what I have done. That, to me, is the true sentence of my crime.
Mr. Scott Moore.
When Saskatchewan's premier was 24, he drove through a stop sign, killing a woman. Scott Moe was not drunk. It was a momentary lapse of attention. He received a traffic ticket. But the fatal crash has dogged him at every political turn.
It's something that you wake up with every morning. You ask yourself all sorts of questions. Questions like, why not me? Questions like, had I been a few moments earlier, a few moments later, could have this been different?
Questions undoubtedly torturing Jaskirat Singh Sidhu. The truck driver caused the Humboldt Broncos bus crash, killing 16, injuring 13. He says he inadvertently went through a stop sign. Kevin Brooks says no prison sentence could be as difficult as the personal guilt.
I'm paralyzed, from the chest down, and I remember early on, I started getting some feeling in my legs and my butt and stuff, and I was thinking like, no, I don't want this. I don't want to walk again. Like, I don't deserve that. There's a lesson to be learned here.
It's our great province of Saskatchewan.
Scott Moe says his accident motivates him as premier to make the roads safer.
But we were really thinking this could be a crossroads in life. We're partying up, we're having fun.
Both Kevin Brooks and Ted Gross have spent 2 decades trying to make amends, giving hundreds of speeches, trying to stop just one person from driving drunk. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Regina.
The Crown prosecutors asked for a 10-year sentence for Sidhu, followed by a 10-year driving prohibition. The defense lawyer didn't suggest a specific term, but he did note that some previous cases of dangerous driving causing death yielded sentences of 2 to 4 years.
And next on The National, our moment. She heard a woman scream and a baby start crying, and then...
And when I looked up, there was a woman and her child hanging out of the window and just smoke billowing out.
What happened next? Right after this. This is Samantha Paulino and her 3-year-old daughter, Carolyn. Early this morning, they woke up to flames licking the walls of their apartment. The window was the only way out, but the drop below was steep. Trying to escape that fire behind them, a bystander heard their screams, and the courage of that stranger is our moment.
I live around the corner and I heard screaming. I heard somebody screaming, help, help, and a baby crying. So I got in my car and I came around the corner to see what was going on. There was a gentleman on the phone, and when I looked up, there was a woman and her child hanging out of the window and just smoke billowing out. So another bystander came out. We were able to catch the baby and the mother, and then that lady's mother was also in there, and Then the firefighters showed up and they're just trying to save everybody.
You were saying at one point they were actually hanging out the window.
They were. They had 2 people had to escape from the window because the smoke was overwhelming. They were panicking. They could see flames, is what they said. Very sad.
Ever been involved in anything like that before?
No.
So our producer Eliza talked to Samantha, the woman who was saved, and she didn't want to speak on camera, but she did say to Eliza, please let Kelly and the man who helped us know that we are very blessed and thankful that they were able to save us, and I don't know what we would have done if they hadn't shown up.
Yeah, okay. You know, I think of the woman who did the saving, Kelly, right? I mean, it's hard to know whether she sprang to action out of instinct or whether she made, you know, a very conscious, deliberate decision to help. But I'm always impressed as heck whenever I see people who have the wherewithal or the presence of mind to act at all, right? I mean, it's so easy to look at a situation like that and have no idea what to do, but it's a good thing she did. That's the National for this Wednesday, March 20th. Have a good night.
Good night.